good evening, and welcome to something that for once is not truly pure theory crafting. I was asked last night if I was going to do a follow-on companion video to my Agent 13 video now that she has been released and now that Sharon Carter is a member of People's Rosters with the culmination of PvP Season 5. And I thought, sure, why not? I can spare 15-20 minutes. Let's go back and let's take a look at her. And now that she's a playable character in People's Rosters, now that we can see a little more in depth beyond the level 1 that we saw back in those original pure theory crafting days. Agent 13, I've got her level 30 and 2-star. She's not really a high priority for me right now. I've been, if you can't tell, working on a couple other characters up there. In addition, I've been building up and including some other characters for the purpose of pure theory crafting videos. She's kind of sitting in the background. That does not mean that I'm terribly unhappy with her character design, but there are a handful of bugs that we need to be aware of when using her. One of them that was reported on the Reddit just earlier today, evidently, she, like Redwing, will lose her turn entirely if you give her the ability to bypass protect and she actually tries to. Which means that you either need to use defensive abilities or attack the target that is protecting. The easiest way to get around a bug like this is simply don't give her the ability to bypass protect. If you're going to use her primarily for support instead of damage dealing, I view that as we can work with that. We can get around that. That's okay. It's not nearly as critical as it is for a high-powered damage dealer, and that is not a tactician like Agent 13's role in the party. That does not mean this is not a bug that needs to be fixed. It does mean that you can still use her on the party, and maybe won't be quite so bad. She's still usable. Now, I've got her at 2-star. The stats are all over the place because she is still ISO'd up for me for a chance to test her some, but those are not necessarily my top-of-the-line EISOs on her. I'm saving those for the people who I'm actually using. Now, she's an Insight user. Right now, Insight is bugged. This is beyond just Agent 13. This works the same way for Heimdall and for Age of Ultron Black Widow. Age of Ultron Black Widow will be the topic, or at least, I've said this repeatedly, and guess what? There's a very good chance I'll change my mind halfway there. Who knows? I'm not exactly the most consistent person in the world. I plan to cover Age of Ultron Black Widow. I will touch on this bug again in her video, but because it's a bug and not a long-term planned effect, I may only touch on it in that video because hopefully it'll be fixed in the future. Insight has a couple of problems based on the platform that you use to play. The bug that I've heard from Android users is different than what I experience as a Windows 10 and iOS player myself. Insight, when it fills to 100, some of the first bug reports we were getting from her is that it would reset the cooldown on her abilities, but she would not get her bonus turn on Android devices. On iOS and Windows 10, what I know of Insight, because I use Age of Ultron Black Widow all the time, and I saw this again with Agent 13, I actually tested to make sure it mimicked it. When Insight fills to full for both characters, and I would assume it's similar for Heimdall, but I don't know that he has any kind of real extra resource. I don't have him, so I've not got the chance to use him. When Insight fills to full on iOS and Windows 10, they get their turn. They do get the bonus turn. It does jump to the front of the line to do it. On this turn, Age of Ultron Black Widow's stamina is completely refilled to full, like her passive says it should. Agent 13's Proof of Preparation will reset all cooldowns on her abilities for this turn. Once the turn is over, all abilities that were on cooldown that you did not choose to use will go back to the cooldown as if you had simply taken an action. So while it does give you the ability to use all of your abilities, even if they're already on cooldown from the start, it simply treats it as if it were a bonus turn. If you had a move that has 2 turns left on its cooldown, and you don't pick it during your bonus Insight action, it's going to have 1 turn left on its cooldown when you go back to it. Because you're going to have taken an action, but it's still going to be on cooldown when you go again. And that somewhat limits her. It means that she can't rely on her insight to bring 3 abilities with cooldowns to it. She needs to use one of those 2 filler moves in order to kind of keep herself rolling. Those filler moves are not bad in terms of one applies debuffs that lowers an enemy's ability to attack, and the other applies debuffs that that vastly increases the amount of damage that character is going to take. That's going to be the next bug we hop in here and we take a look at. Another major bug is whip smarts, and it comes here at the 2-star upgrade. Once upgraded, instead of where one enemy will be hit with dazed, it'll actually say self demoralized, and she will apply demoralized to herself upon using whip smarts. That's a bug. I've heard a couple of people say, well, maybe it's deliberate. No. She's putting an offensive debuff on herself using a low damage, fast filler move. So right now, if you're going to invest in a filler move, do not do it in whip smarts. Do it in textbook takedown. This one is working the way that it's supposed to. And it does apply both stumbling and wide open. These are powerful enough debuffs, and they're both tactical, which she can take advantage of. Go ahead and give her textbook takedown as her filler move of choice. Normally, in the original video, I said give her whip smarts or textbook takedown. Right now, until that bug is fixed, give her textbook takedown and call it good. Now, I was unlucky enough to not get these 2 out of the draw. I actually got duplicates of a couple of these abilities. One thing I won't complain about is I did get a duplicate of Overcharge Pistol, which was another 1000 AP. That was a wonderful thing. Unarmed Fury, I have had the chance to have this used on me in PvP. So, I don't necessarily consider that a good thing, but it's there. If the opponent has a tactical debuff, this move does gain its bonus damage, and textbook takedown applies 2 tactical debuffs. Go ahead and use it as a setup for Unarmed Fury. I have seen this one being used, and if I remember right, in that original video that I did a few weeks ago for her, Critical Path, my biggest concern, and see, I looked at the Unarmed Fury and I said this is going to be a multi-hit attack, and that because a lot of the Critical Path moves, like Spider-Man and like Daredevil, their Critical Path moves are only single hit. If that one attack is not a crit, they don't get their turn. This is like a 4 or a 5 hit combo, and if any one of them is a crit, she gets another turn. So because it practically guarantees she's going to get another action, go ahead and use this one when you can. But while you should bring this for the damage output, remember that Critical Path does not trigger an extra turn if used during her insight turn. So pay attention to whether or not she's refreshed all her cooldowns. You will have to watch for that. Age of Ultron Black Widow has a similar effect. She has one move with Opportunistic. If she kills with it during an insight bonus turn, she does not get a bonus action. Agent 13, same thing with Critical Path. She doesn't get her extra turn right then and there. So Unarmed Fury, use it on cooldown. Do not use it during your bonus turn or it just goes to waste. Instead, bring your filler move, ideally textbook takedown, bring Unarmed Fury. These 2 provide a powerful offensive boost for her. Unarmed Fury textbook takedown is a great way to lower an enemy's defenses for the entire team to take advantage of. Unarmed Fury allows her to do burst of bonus damage every 3 turns, and because you're almost guaranteed that one of the 4 or 5 hits from this particular attack, if not more, it have multiple hits, if not more, if any one of them is a crit, she's going to get another turn right off the bat, and you might as well just treat this as a 2-turn cooldown, because that bonus turn is going to count towards the 3. So she'll do another action, do Unarmed Fury, and get another action immediately. This allows her to progress through cooldowns at a much faster rate. Yes, you can give her other abilities. They do kind of flip back and forth as to which ones are good and which ones you really want. I was corrected. I was wrong in my initial attempt at the post there. Overwatch is after any ally is attacked. My original thought was that Overwatch worked like coordinated, and I do know, thanks to I Play the Mic, that Overwatch and coordinated do not stack on themselves. If you have Overwatch, you will not take a bonus action from the coordinated sets. Overwatch, I believe, overrides Readied. Readied only provides a free attack if you were targeted. Overwatch provides a free attack if anybody is targeted, including yourself. Now, my original comment was don't use this on the tank because my first thought was, and I got it half right. Don't use it on the tank because while the tank will get the free attack that I didn't think he initially would, most tanks' free attacks are not as good as a damage dealer. You can use this to act as survival for a damage dealer. This can go up to a fast move, stays at 4-turn cooldown. You can burn through the cooldowns faster by using Textbook Takedown and Unarmed Fury. And that's really what that pair would be is to burn your way through cooldowns much faster. Now, Field Recovery, this is a powerful heal. I've had the chance to test it. It's 1,500 points or more. It's a very powerful major heal plus restored. This is very good. It really is. It does go up to fast. It does drop to a 3-turn cooldown. Using Unarmed Fury and her bonus turn, she can use Field Recovery on cooldown. And then as her bonus inside action, since Unarmed Fury doesn't work on that inside action, you can always use Field Recovery on that turn as a way to consistently throw heals across the line and keep restored up on the people who need it. So Field Recovery works perfectly fine right now. Still a very good buff. Now, this move was one that I had some real tricks with when I was looking through it on paper. This move hits like a truck. This move is immensely powerful. And it can be used over and over again. I don't like it in PvP because it's a death sentence. I took her into PvP because one of her tasks was, for 2-star to get to 3-star, was to use her as a leader for 20 PvP battles. She does not have to win them, but you can't cancel out of them. You have to complete them start to finish. And 20 fights when so many people have Wasp took forever. I easily spent an hour on that, if not more. This ability hits exceptionally hard. Even without taking much damage, if any at all, in PvP, this attack was hitting 3 and 4-star heroes for 3,000 and 4,000 damage. It was killing people outright. But the amount of damage it does back to her is a lot. It's very high. Now, in terms of her EISO sets, the only thing I put up on her right now was coordinated because I wanted to test her free attack. And her free attack is nothing to write home about. It is a single shot with that pistol she's got in her hand. No debuff, no special effect on it. It's about average as far as free attacks go for damage. She is a fairly high accuracy character. We can see that there. Obviously, these are not necessarily my best spread of crystals. I was just trying to get a bunch of coordinated on her so I could test it. So her attack, not the highest. And notice in there that in these crystal EISOs, this was something I couldn't cover in that original video because we didn't see what they were. 3 accuracy, 3 evasion, a speed, and a health. No defense, no attack. She is a tactician. She is party support, and she is fantastic for debuffs. Her raw attack stat is not going to get very high unless, like I went over with Gamora in the video I just did earlier, that I just posted right prior to recording this, now that that video has finally uploaded. Thank you, YouTube. Agent 13 would need attack as a secondary stat on practically every one of her EISOs if you really want to make use of her as an offensive character. She can do it, but you have to look into that as you're building her up in the first place. Now, let's hop back to her abilities there. I view this as an alright build for PvE. It gives you that field recovery that you can use on demand to heal a teammate. It is a powerful heal, can be used with the tank. Agent 13, she's got a really solid evasion. That takes her pretty well in PvP. don't use it. Don't go without a tank in PvE. If you're going to use her in PvE, she's not really built to take a hit. She's got good solid evasion, but her defense and her health not very high. She does get 3 evasion EISOs. Personally, I might look at 1 or 2 of those as replacing them with chaotics, if not all 3 of them in PvE, to bolster her lower attack. Her accuracy, perfectly fine. So focus on attack as a secondary stat for her, and then speed. Don't stack her defensive stats. She's already going to have 3 evasion EISOs. That should be good enough for her to kind of minimize the random damage she'll take from area of effect and dot damage in PvE content. Now, going back to Overcharge Pistol. This move in PvE has an immense amount of kickback. It cannot kill her. 2 shots from this can often drop her to 1 hit point, and it has for me. I've seen it do upwards to 1,300 damage back to her because of feedback. Half of her health gone in a single shot. Now, I believe that the damage that she takes is actually applied after all the rest of this instead of before it, which means that it's not necessarily helping your damage on that initial shot, because what happens is you shoot the enemy and then you see the numbers appear on them and the numbers appear on you, typically in that order. It hits very hard. It can be fired off consistently in between her insight rounds. During her insight rounds, don't use this. Use this on its 4-turn cooldown, maybe, but during her insight rounds, go ahead and fire off field recovery. Now, her innate down here, which grants her the 20 insight whenever an ally drops below 50% health, this works. And not only does it works every time somebody hits 50%. If they heal back above it and drop below it, it happens again. And I was able to see that by using Overcharge Pistol, using the 20 bonus insight from her dropping below 50%, to use field recovery as my bonus turn to get back up above it. And then it happened again the next time I fired off the Overcharge Pistol. This move really does hit really hard. If you have somebody in the team who applies targeted, if you're using her alongside, say, Hawkeye, and if you're giving Hawkeye the Overwatch abilities and such, using a shield in place of field recovery, I would be very leery about not taking this with field recovery. And this means you won't take both defensive moves together, because until they fix until they allow her insight to reduce the cooldown of to restore the cooldowns of all abilities permanently, instead of just for the bonus turn, you're going to want these two side by side, because Overcharge Pistol does an immense amount of damage to Agent 13, and the moment the enemy does an area of effect attack, it'll kill her. Do I think that you can potentially run both of these as a perfectly fine support build? Yes, because this, while it may not do a great amount of damage, does a very, very strong pair of damage increasing debuffs for the rest of your team. Meanwhile, you're running her both as your healer, and you're running her as a shielding support. And this allows her to consistently throw improved shields and Overwatch on your high damage characters or your tank at your choice, while also having access to field recovery as well. If you want to use her in place of a healer, I think that she will work just fine for it, provided you are not on Android, because you're going to be limited if Insight is not giving you bonus turns. One more bug on Insight is that if the character is in the back row, if the character is in your reserves, and I tested this, because I've already seen this on Age of Ultron Black Widow, I was well aware of this one. Insight, unlike other resources, continues to build if you are in reserves, even from the attacks made by the enemies. If it hits 100 in the back row, it will attempt to give you your bonus turn in the back row. From that point on, for the rest of the fight, Insight is bugged. It'll be considered filled up to 100. If you switch them back to the front, you won't get your bonus turn. For Age of Ultron Black Widow, all that really meant for her is that every now and then she'd have to use her tactical to restore her stamina. It's not horrific. For Agent 13, it means that you will no longer be able to use high cooldown moves during that bonus turn, and it's crippling. If you were going to bring Agent 13, do not switch her to the reserves unless you know that you're going to switch her back out immediately because you're going to lose access to her insight bonus turns. So be very careful with the bugs that are currently on her. Agent 13 is a fairly buggy new hero, but she's buggy in very specific ways. She has the same problem with insight that Age of Ultron, Black Widow, and Heimdall currently have. So that's not necessarily a bug unique to her. It's to all insight users. Her individual bugs, the do not use her to bypass protect. She loses her turn. Do not use whip smarts. It debuffs yourself. Other than this, for the most part, most of these abilities work exactly as intended. Be careful about critical path here. Don't use the. It's got one of the shorter cooldowns for her moves. Don't use this on your bonus turn. You won't really get the benefit of critical path. And so you should use Unarmed Fury if you're boosting her her damage. If you've got her attack higher through properly EISOing her, then Unarmed Fury can do a solid amount of damage with exploit schemes and can rapidly reduce the cooldown of her other ability even outside of her insight turns. Be careful with the power of Overcharged Pistol. It does immense amounts of damage. It cannot kill you, but sitting you at 1 hit point can leave you a sitting duck for other people. And they will not hesitate to take advantage of this. I'm going to be somewhat silly, and I'm going to go ahead and take her into combat with just these abilities. I want to show off how Overcharged Pistol does work for people. Because not everybody who got her from S rank, which means that they may be buying Overcharged Pistol. So we'll take her right here into the start. I've already got her in reserves because for the preparation for this video, I'm actually going to run a double tactician here. Both these ladies use insight. And actually, I'm going to put her in the back. And I'm going to do so because as soon as I see her get her bonus turn, we're going to see about swapping her in Age of Ultron Black Widow in place of Winter Soldier so that we can see how insight is bugged if they're in the back row, because Agent 13 suffers from the same fault that Age of Ultron Black Widow does when it comes to that particular bug. Moon Knight's going to be running my tank, so getting him to throw protection early, that's going to be critical. Then we'll start looking at Agent 13 as she gets her turn. I'm probably just going to have Winter Soldier reload over and over again. That's Moon Knight in a nutshell right there. So, all abilities start right off the bat. She's already got her 20 insight because an enemy attacked. She builds insight very quickly. That is a nice thing to see. She does build it really fast right off the bat. Alright, she's at full health. This, while it's going to do the damage back to her, does increase its damage based on missing health. It's about 1% damage increase for every 2% health loss, thanks to a couple other tests that we were able to do, such as Civil War Captain America's Unyielding buff. We're able to tell that the way Playdom does scaling abilities in this game is that there is no cutoff gate. That plus 50% based on missing health, it only reaches 50% when you're basically down to 1 hit point. It doesn't reach its maximum at some arbitrary earlier point, like at 20% health or 30% health. It doesn't max out early. It's based all the way down to 0 health. So we're going to go ahead and fire this off, see how much damage it actually does. She is 2-star, remember? That's a 6,000 point opening shot at full health, but look how much damage she just took. That was an 1,130 point hit back to her. I haven't figured out yet how it actually calculates the math back. I've seen it do anywhere from 600 to about 1,300. And I think it's about 20% of the damage you deal with it. Could be wrong there, but I think it's about 20% of the damage dealt by that attack comes back to you as damage. I would like people who've really been using her and making a heavier use of her. There's the free attack from coordinated. Literally nothing special. Keep in mind that that's a tactician attacking an infiltrator, which of course because it's a free attack doesn't matter so much. But she's also 2-star and I haven't built up her attack. So it is a perfectly normal free attack. You did see that it devastated. She is only 2-star. This is a equivalent enemy. So her higher accuracy does assist there. But other than that, it's a free attack with literally nothing special. We can tell from the shot that it's going to be a ranged projectile. It's going to benefit from targeted. But with her high accuracy, targeted wasn't needed to get the devastate. So let's shield him and set him up. I'm going to kind of deliberately drag out the fight here to see how many more times we can trigger her insight. She's a reasonably fast character, but she's much lower level. But she's lower star level than these guys are. All right, so we can see that goes into the 4-round cooldown. I'm going to now go ahead and use field recovery, but not on her. I'm going to throw it on a different character entirely for no reason other than to put both abilities on cooldown. Hit him. Okay, wave ended because he's Moon Knight and he kills things. He kills things kind of when they look at him funny. He just does stuff like that. I've got Moon Knight pretty loaded on defensive EISOs. They're at 3, they're at 4. Insight rapidly filling. Another character is going to get his attack right afterwards, and that's going to build them up. Let's go ahead and actually, Holo Decoy generates 15 insight. Let's guarantee that she's going to get the next action because she's now up to 95 insight even prior to this. There is her insight turn. All abilities are right back here. This portion of the fight is broken on Android from what has been reported to me. I do not have the ability to test this. I do not own an Android device. I play on iOS on my phone and on Windows 10 on the computer through the Windows 10 store when I'm recording these videos. I do not use an emulator like BlueStacks like other people do. It is available on Windows 10. My computer's not the best anyway, so I just go ahead and run it through that basic program there. And that's what all of my videos are recorded on. They're all recorded on Windows 10. So the bugs you see for me will not be the same as bugs for Android users specifically. Now, all of these are available again. Let's go ahead and take out this guy because he's got the ability to do an area of effect that even he doesn't do because it applies wounded. Let's see how much damage it does. Now that she's lost some health, the damage has already gone up. These enemies are a little tougher than they were in the first wave. They are. These are level 34 star. They've got higher stats. But look how much damage she took there. She's already down to 500 health. She's only fired off twice. That kickback hurts. But now, we fire that off during her insight turn, so she didn't get any insight from it because she was treated as being at 100. Had I fired that off during any other portion of the turn, she would see the plus 20 insight above there. And I will aim to... I am going to aim to let her get back up there. And part of the way that I'm going to do that is to make sure that the area of effect enemy can't use an area of effect on me. Now, I've seen enough attacks come in. Let's take a quick look at Black Widow and see if she's bugged. Like she should, like I think she probably is. Black Widow, Insight 100. This is the reserve bug. Having her in the back row, letting her insight fill to 100 based on enemy actions. When you bring her to the front for the rest of the fight, she's going to sit at 100 insight and never get a bonus turn to restore her stamina. That is a definite insight bug that we see right now. Here's the second half of the insight bug for these two lovely ladies right there. Once the insight turn is over, you go back to where you were. Now, this doesn't put it back to the one turn that you would see left. See how we've already dropped from 4 to and then had the insight turn, and that was our third. So it does treat the insight turn as one in terms of reducing the cooldown of other abilities, and it put Overcharged Pistol back onto the very start of its cooldown. So when she gets an insight turn, all of her abilities are available to her. When you pick one to use it, it starts the cooldown for that ability from then, and then the other ones go back to the cooldown that they were already on, but treating the insight turn as one of the rounds needed to reduce its cooldown. This does still mean that she can progress her cooldowns faster than other people can, but it's still not quite what is advertised from her actual passive proof of preparation. It's supposed to simply reset the cooldowns. As written, reset the cooldowns. So this slightly different mechanic for in terms of how it actually works. Let's go ahead and throw textbook takedown, and then let's see. All right, we'll just shoot the guy and call it good. This is a bit of a preview for the Age of Ultron Black Widow. This lovely lady will be the next topic of pure theory crafting for me because she's such a core character for me. Oh, that's interesting. Maybe that's our fix for the insight bug. She's getting her bonus turn. She didn't get it in the wave she swapped in. She got it as soon as the next wave started. I just spent stamina. And the stamina I just spent was 50. Which means that with our stamina regen of 40, she should have been at 90. She's back to 100 stamina. Her insight bar is full. This means that she should be getting an extra turn. Now let's not try to kill the enemies here because I want to be able to test her again. Here we see her go back to her next turn, so that does fix the insight bug. When they do swap in, they won't get their bonus turn for that wave. Evidently, that will straighten itself out when you go into the next wave. Do take note of that when it comes to things like PvE. Well, I guess it wouldn't happen in PvP, but take note of that in terms of strong single wave fights or short fights where there's only 2 or 3. The Epic Yellow Jacket at the end of this particular path, if she's in the back row and Crossfire manages to fire off and execute and kills Agent 13, because it's a one-way fight, it won't ever fix that. And that's actually where I'd noticed that happening. So I'd never seen that it actually clears that out before. Good to know. Let's go ahead and hasten her up. Throw hasten on the team. Let's refresh that. And then Agent 13 is going to get her turn. Cooldown's coming up. I'm really hoping that she doesn't die, like right here, so we can test it. Because this guy's got an area of effect attack, and thankfully he didn't use it. Stamina 20. Stamina should be pretty high, 75. Alright, so again, we're just going to hasten because I'm testing Agent 13 and not Black Widow. Alright, here's where the heal kicks in and why we're throwing this. So, 1861. It didn't reduce her, it didn't heal her all the way up to full. So this is between about a 1600 point and probably a 1900 or a 2000 point heal. It probably varies in between that. It may go higher as she stars up. Maybe not, I don't know. Either way, we've already seen now that the upper end of her heal, of her field recovery, is pretty high. 1800 point heal is pretty impressive. It's maybe not quite half Moon Knight's health, but yeah, he's Moon Knight. He's a health stacking character. Most characters do not stack health to the level that he does. Because he's at 5,000 health for me. Hastened again because we can. Alright. There's that area of effect. This is why I'm glad that I healed. Alright, and this is... Thank you for not killing him. Here we have another insight turn. I'm going to do something a little bit different. I have access to this move. I don't want to use it just yet. Instead, I want to see what happens when they fall below 50% health. So I'm going to actually let some of these other moves tick off in terms of damage. I'm going to let Wounded apply and burn her down. And what we're looking for then is we're looking for that text that says that she's dropped below 50% health. And I would probably get that faster if I'd actually let Moon Knight's Protect fall off. I should put him into stealth. That's what I should do. Let's break Moon Knight's Protect by stealthing him. That, by the way, is something utterly unique to Agent 13. The ability to remove Protect from another member of your team. If you're running with a half tank, then, you know, that's actually a kind of vital function. It allows you to stop tanking with someone who's dropped lower on health than what you might otherwise like. Da, 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 da. Evidently, I'm getting entirely too many turns because I'm not actually attacking anyone. I am watching her health tick down, and we're looking for this to drop below 50% health. Sorry if this is taking a little bit longer. That's okay. This shouldn't be as crazy long as some other ones. Let's... If I stealth her, then maybe there will be a chance that he'll fire off that area of effect flamethrower again and actually detonate Volatile. And hopefully Volatile won't kill her outright. But we'll see it one way or another. There's the damage. Wounded. Accidentally killed him because he does. The reapplied wounded and the guy's damage being done. Her health is starting to drop low. That's what we want to see. And of course the insight turns that they're getting there. Let's go ahead and drop the field recovery. Again, this is the part you'll probably want to fast forward through. Either way, watching wounded tick down. When it pops up, when that text pops up, it'll be right over her head, and it'll be the same kind of purple text that we see for the insight bar as a whole. I'm going to use this because it's slower and actually lets the enemy get an action in there. She's getting close to 50% health. Let's see if we can finally get it to tick down and deal damage. Seriously? Seriously? I may just need to swap her out for... Also, if they have revealed, no, her tactical does not take it off. Alright. I'm going to swap out Black Widow for Winter Soldier because his reload is horrifically long. We'll put him into stealth. Why not? Damage. She's getting really close. There we go. Plus 10 insight. Emergency services only showed 10 instead of 20 because that brings her to cap. She was at 90. It does initially add 20 insight. If it brings her to cap, it will just say 10 or 5 or whatever it takes. But, and that, I'm sorry, that took like 3 or 4 minutes to even get to. But we do see that her passive, or sorry, her innate does kick in to recharge her insight, and it will do so every time somebody drops below 50% health, even when healed back up past it. Unlike, say, the barricading EISO, to my knowledge, it is not a one-time effect. Every time somebody ping-pongs back and forth above and below 50%, you'll see that effect. Cast back to that She-Hulk video that I showed, where She-Hulk took a lot of damage and then promptly healed herself by like 2,000 points, or 2,500. Every time She-Hulk does that, takes enough damage that she falls to 50%, and She-Hulk's innate kicks in, causing her to take half damage. Every time that happens, Agent 13's insight will kick up by another 20 points. We've already seen that she gets her insight turns with some regularity here. Dropping her back down to low, that would be something or other that would probably have resulted, if that were not the last wave, that would almost certainly have resulted in Agent 13's death, because she had wounding still on her. Be very careful about using Overcharge Pistol based on the debuffs you have and whether or not you want to try and use it in PvP. It is immensely powerful, but the kickback damage off of it is not small. And it can and has resulted in me watching Agent 13 just kind of keel over and die shortly thereafter, because even though the move can't kill her, it can bring her down to a fatal level. Now, I'm going to wrap the video up here. This was really just meant to show off Agent 13 as a follow-up to the initial Pure Theory Crafting video for the full breakdown of her abilities in the way that they're supposed to work, the way that she works on paper, and potential builds and ideas. Those are not necessarily out of the picture. Keep the bugs that are currently in there in mind from this video, but knowing them and knowing what moves are going to cause bugs and what ones are not allows you to use Agent 13 as an effective character right now, even before she's fixed. Remember not to use Whip Smarts, take Textbook Takedown. Remember that her Unarmed Fury is a very effective move, but don't use it during your Insight turn. Remember that Insight in general is somewhat bugged. You kind of have to know how to manipulate it. It is going to, if it fills up while she's in reserve, you'll have to wait until the next wave to get her free attack or her free turn. During the free turn, all cooldowns are reset and available, but as soon as you spin the action, they'll go back to being on cooldown, but will have counted down one turn less as if you had taken a normal turn. There's still a lot of versatility available in Agent 13. I've encountered her a few times in PvP already. I have seen at least one of my allies put her as the leader, quite possibly just to level her up because I had to do the same thing during PvP. Give her a try if she still interests you. Learn what those bugs are so that you can learn how to work around them until such time as they're actually fixed. She is not, at least on Windows 10 and iOS, she is not so broken that she cannot be used. Now, if on Android that her Insight doesn't work at all, if she doesn't get the bonus turn in the first place, that can be a problem. So, Android users, test her out and see if Insight is so broken that it kind of stops her there. But on iOS and Windows 10, she's definitely still a viable hero. You just kind of have to know what's available and what's not. So until probably 2 days from now, as I said at the end of the Gamora video, I will be a little bit busy over the next day or so. But look for me again in about 2 days. We'll see if we can't put together a video on Age of Ultron Black Widow. You got a little bit of a combat preview of her today, although I deliberately was not using her offensive abilities to test Agent 13. But the Insight problems that we see here with Agent 13 will carry over to Age of Ultron Black Widow. Until that time, this is Hoagland. This was a follow-up video to my Pure Theory crafting. If you've watched this one and you want to know exactly what the heck's going on, I'm going to move this in line to be immediately after the Agent 13 main video. If you can stand to listen to me even longer, go watch that alongside this. Until next time, this is Hoagland. I'm out.